We are going live.
All right. Hey, everyone. So it's 8 o'clock here in Eastern Standard, and thanks for joining. We are here in honor of Christopher Hopper and his launch of Kogarashi's Run, Book 3 of the Infinitus series. For those who don't know me, and I'm just looking at just through some of the chat, some familiar names, but for those who don't know me, I am Dan Wong. We'll explain how that came about later on. But I did have I'm lawyer by day, and in the evening on weekends, I'm an audiobook fan and the editor, actually, of Kogarashi's Run. So I had the honor and privilege of hosting today's event with Christopher, and I are the lovely, talented, and charming Rebecca Woods, and the equally lovely, charming, and talented Daniel Wisniewski, who, for those who have not listened to the audiobook version, you will hear their voices on Kogarashi's Run and the other two books in the Infinitus series. So I don't think we need to introduce too much to the man of the hour, Christopher Hopper. But Christopher, do you want to start off maybe a few words of welcome as we start the event?
Sure. Well, just hello to everybody watching. So glad you could be here. Daniel, Rebecca, so great to have you with us.
It's so good to be here.
Likewise.
This is a momentous day. And for everybody watching, thank you for joining in. Thank you for leaving some comments. We're going to be doing some giveaways. I'm really stoked about. Dan Wong, thank you for hosting, my friend. You're so generous with your time to do this, and we appreciate you. And the nice thing is for me, I get to just relax a little bit. I'm not public service announcement. Fortunately, COVID isn't transferred through the video screen, but I'm not feeling the best tonight. So if you see the bags under my eyes, that's a 3 a.m. wake up call today, and just blah. So I'm going to rely on my wonderful host and my special guests to help carry the evening. And I just can't thank you all enough for being here. This is really special. So.
Well, and we're going to look to the participants for today to also bring in that energy and that fun. So we're going to make this interactive. We've got some questions. We've got some things to talk about, but this is as much for you, the participants, as well as for us. So if you have questions, shoot them in the chat. From what I see, everyone is a Facebook user. So if you're logging in through Facebook, and you want to drop your name in there, by all means, feel free to do so. In fact, we're going to encourage some questions and audience participation. Christopher has been so generous. We've got some Audible codes for Kogarashi's Run. We have some signed hardcovers, much like this one, mine signed. You can get one too. And also, Christopher is offering 3 premium Hopperverse subscriptions. So for those who don't know what Hopperverse is, stay tuned. We're going to get into that too. But how do you get some of this awesome stuff? You participate. So asking questions will get you a shot at one of these awesome prizes. As the host, the power that I wield means that I can also give out some as I see fit. So you don't know how that's going to happen, but try your hand at something. But if you do ask a question, and we will definitely ask them for you to Daniel, Rebecca, or Christopher. If you're asking through Facebook, I may for some reason some names come through, some are not. So if you're asking through Facebook, I have a question, please put your name at the end of it. That way we know who it is. If you want to at least be eligible for a prize, if you rather remain anonymous and ask your offensive question, stay anonymous. That's fine. And also just to keep everyone around, we actually have a treat at the end. So I'm gonna encourage everyone to stick around if you can. Around just before 9 o'clock, the scheduled time to end, we'll have a little treat for everyone who's on at that time. But without further ado, why don't we jump right into the tonight's event, Infinitus series. Christopher, you wrote 3 books. How would you describe the Infinitus series in a nutshell for those who haven't yet enjoyed that series?
I would say it's probably the worst series I've ever written.
Dare you?
Most people hate it. The voice acting really was subpar. I'm not sure why we're here, to be honest with you, but
Dare you?
So it's opposite day is what I'm hearing.
I'm hearing Hopper's a snake. No. Club, folks. These are the jokes.
Yeah, pull up a chair. It's gonna be a long night. I would say, I mean, first of all, this series is very near and dear to me. It ended up building into something beautiful for several reasons. Not only the people who helped build it, including my beta readers, my content editor Matthew Titus, Christy Strawler, so many incredible minds. Dan was obviously a huge component to that. But it was my attempt at hard sci-fi thriller. So for those who like The Expanse, for those who like a not so modern take on Star Trek, a little more closer to 200 years out from present day rather than several hundred or even 1,000 years. It's the science is real as close as we could get. The research is real. Hundreds of files of research on this project. The characters are some of my favorite. They're the most raw, authentic, broken characters, in terms of they have issues and they just, I think there's something really cool about sticking dysfunctional people together in tight spaces and throwing them out into the void, the vacuum of space. So yeah, I don't know. It's got some really cool drama. It's got, AI and bots. It's got faster than light travel and gates and sabotage, and I don't know. It's been a fun series, and so to wrap the trilogy up, and who knows what more it might come, but Kogarashi's run wraps the trilogy up, and so it's really special to be here and talk about it. So yeah.
Well, so in Daniel and Rebecca, what?
I'm totally babbling. I'm so sorry.
No, I loved it.
COVID, Chris. No.
So Daniel and Rebecca, how did you two come to lend your voice acting skills to this piece of crap that we know as Infinita?
I'm going to answer it not opposite day. No, I have known Christopher Hopper's family for a long time, and have always we in my family have always been huge supporters of his work. And when I had seen more of his recent work and kind of refocused on what he was doing nowadays, I just honestly, Christopher, I need you to know this. I honestly reached out first with just like this is awesome, you're amazing, I just wanted to let you know this is really cool. So it was not me being like, so hey, it became that, but it did not start as that. And I think what was exciting for me is I knew that you wrote really amazing, in-depth worlds with great characters. And so the moment there was even a hint of like, oh, so you do audio, and you have partners who do audio, and that's amazing. I was like, oh my God, the idea of being able to work on one of your worlds and some of those rich characters was really exciting.
Thank you, Rebecca. It's been a privilege. It's been a privilege. And needless to say, I have thousands of men and women who are quite in love with Dr. Evelyn Park. So you have flustered
awesome.
many a person.
Well, thanks. Thank you.
Oh, now I'm in the focus. Hello. Well, I got to start to work on it because of Rebecca. She and I have worked together at that point on a couple of series, mostly in fantasy and romance fantasy. And I was very much looking for something different. And I love sci-fi. I love hard sci-fi, especially. Sci-fi that really postulates on the possibilities of what the future actually will entail and tries to spin it from a character's perspective, like not necessarily the themes, but from a character's POV, like driving the story. And Rebecca's like, I have this really cool book and they're looking to work on a partner thing. Would you mind? Let's see if this works. And I don't even remember if I had to audition. I think that Hopper just took Rebecca at her word, thank God. And because I'll tell you what, the time between the initial question of, hey, we have this book here, and then when we actually started working on it, I got so much better in a month. Thank God something
Listen,
clicked.
Well,
So
she sent me your reel, and
that piece of crap.
I was
okay.
no, brother, I was on a walk. I pulled it up on my phone immediately, and just delight, like just delight. And I remember playing an excerpt both for my kids and for Jenny, and I think one of the comments was, "That'll do, pig."
Oh, nice.
So we called Rebecca. I was like, Rebecca, done. Do it. We're in.
Outstanding.
Wow.
Oh, then I'm not getting rid of the reel. I contemplated, but I won't now. But yeah, and been happy to be working on the whole trilogy with all y'all. It's been great. It's been fun.
Well, and like Rebecca, I think there are a whole lot of people who are in love with Jericho Fox. So
As they should be.
yeah,
He's great. He's a fantastic
Every
character.
time I'm like, oh my God, look, I'm like me reading ahead. I'm like, they, oh no, they did. Okay, not yet. Oh no, I got it. Okay, yeah, no, every time. I'm just sitting there. I'm a big fan of Jericho.
Yeah, he's great.
So speaking of that, so Rebecca and Daniel, of the characters, and try to avoid spoilers if you can for those who haven't enjoyed the series, any characters that you performed that were your favorites or that stand out for any particular reason to each of you?
Dan, you want to?
Sure. Thank you. I would say three of my favorites might not be who people would think because, Kit or Nigel Salsworth because villainous British man, or Eddie Carr because, Cockney British man. Oi, very London, very sweary. He's very fun. He is very fun. But I'd say my two favorites were Jericho, and honestly, I really, really loved voicing Fergus. In especially because in Kogarashi's run, there's an entire chapter that it's his only POV chapter.
Yes.
And I gave him in book 2, not just spoilers, but he has a very affected, dramatic English accent. And it's very just so silly. I was basing it a little bit off of Brian Stokes Mitchell as Don Quixote and Man of La Mancha. Just very like, it is the mission of each true knight, that kind of vibe. And so an entire chapter of that, to be serious though, and also talk about the ramifications of artificial intelligence, that was a challenge. And it was a lot of fun. But Jericho also just fit very easily. He's one of those characters I like to call a worn coat character that like you just slip him on and he's just there. It's just very easy. All of the grooves are evened out. Like he's like a well-worn coat of a character. Just I can knock him out in 10 minutes. I get his mindset, I get his voice, everything like that. There is another character that I also just realized that I really, really love, but I'll save that for later because the reason I love him is also why I love one section of one of the books. So I'll gush about him later. But yeah, Rebecca, your turn.
All right. I feel like I always say this. I mean, obviously, I adore Evelyn. I can't not. And I get really excited every time I'm working on something. Anytime I'm working on something, and then I've got Infinita series coming up, and I get to slip back into narrating Evelyn's chapters. Now this is actually kind of an odd answer. I feel like I actually, in juxtaposition to that, really enjoyed the fact that the chapters where I got to voice Gemma or my goodness, I'm forgetting her. Neon, thank you. I was like, not Nina.
How dare you?
It's not Nina, it's Neon. When I'm voicing, all right, when I'm getting to voice some of those moments, I'm really getting to explore their headspace from a third person perspective, which is my narrator voice, which was really fun. And I think it was interesting, and I liked the switch back and forth of getting to have Evelyn you're right there up in her brain, everything's happening in the moment, and then the third person narration of these more villainous characters lent it this kind of quiet, controlled chaos, and it was great. So I really liked that too. And then I will forever say this: I adore voicing Sam. I think she's just like, I love how she is a great foil, just personality wise, to Evelyn. And that was just, I love their back and forth moments throughout the entire series. They're some of my favorites.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I saw a question here. I just lost it. I want to make sure I got it. So Jim Leslie, Big Jim, you're actually, because you are the first person who I'm going to call upon to or ask your question on your behalf. You're going to get the first audible code. So there you go. Wield the power. You get the code. His question is, I'm going to modify it a little bit, Jim, with some host privileges here, because it actually ties into something I wanted to ask Christopher. So I'm going to ask the question to pose it actually to Daniel and Rebecca. Christopher, you already talked about maybe there's more for the Infinita series, but so the question from Jim, Daniel, and Rebecca is that, how do you guys feel now that Infinita has wrapped up? And I'm going to tweak your question, Jim. So Daniel and Rebecca, what can you say to Christopher now to convince him maybe to write a little bit more in the Infinity universe?
I will start with this. That was too much of a cliffhanger with Jericho and Evelyn, and I swear to goodness, if I don't find out what happens, I'm gonna lose it. So, ta-da!
So, Christopher, that was like a veiled threat on your life, if I can put it that way. So we got the bodily threat.
Yes,
Rebecca's going that direction. We love that. Okay.
Unfortunately, Rebecca was here for HopperCon, so she knows where I live now. I don't know that.
Yeah. Oh, I knew
She's
where
not
you
the
lived
only
like a
one.
decade ago. So, watch yourself.
Oversights here. Oversights.
Daniel, your turn. Your turn to convince Christopher. You can go with bodily harm. You can try other means. I leave it to you.
Run the gambit.
I suppose I would just try to, really roll for persuasion and just be like, with a big old fat pretty please. I would honestly say that, like, this universe is very much a universe. And in a universe, there are an infinite number of possibilities where the story could go. You did so well crafting the story that you didn't leave any sort of loose ends, but just possibilities for the next weave of thread. So, to me, I think it would be insulting to the series to not further pursue where these characters could go. It doesn't do them justice. You wrote these wonderfully living characters that have gotten a lot of love from a lot of people, and it would really do a disservice to them and to the story and to this world that you crafted to not further that with another sort of trilogy that can be in the same place with the same people, or maybe like feature them as cameos or something. Who knows? But there's more to there. There's more there. There's so much more there.
Wow, guys,
Do
thank
it.
you.
No.
No, I feel the love. I really do. Thank you.
I don't know about love, Christopher. I think Daniel was going on like the guilt trip part.
Oh, absolutely. Catholic guilt turned up to 11. It is so
Spinal Tap.
so easy to do. Exactly.
kind of like the guilt trip I put on you, Christopher, for the next topic we want to talk about, which is HopperCon.
Oh,
Hey.
The con of the hops.
So the con of the hops, yeah. So for those who have joined us for this, but may not know what we're talking about, or may have heard a little bit about this mythical event that happened a couple months ago, July 2023, a bunch of Americans, some crazy Aussies, a couple from the UK, some crazy Canucks, all descended on Clayton, New York, and Watertown, New York for a weekend, where Christopher and his family graciously hosted us and brought a really strong community together. What led you to organize HopperCon?
You?
Well,
Wow, really? I did not know. How?
No, I mean, there is some people are writing, it's not a cult. The idea of gathering around fandom and our love for just the worlds that take us out of this one temporarily, that thing is so strong. Escapism doesn't have to be negative. It can be beautiful. And we all, if we're honest, we all want it in some measure and need it. Entertainment is not a bad thing. It's a wonderful thing. Like anything, it can be done too much and it can interfere with priorities and all those other things. But I think by and large, we all seek that respite. And so it was like, hey, in this tradition of gathering, following COVID, there was an absence of that and a vacuum of it. And especially in the Northeast, where I am. And so it was kind of like, hey, and Dan, I really think you were the first one to mention it. Like, hey, you could do something. And like of all the authors I'm thinking of, you really ought to do something. And it just, it segued really well. It felt natural. I was honestly just thinking 15 or 20 people would show up, and we had more than that. So, and people have already, before the dates were even released, people were like ready to buy Airbnbs. And so we announced the dates, and we have Airbnbs rented. People have already purchased airfare. I'm like blown away, and we haven't even opened registration yet. So, so it was just, it was a beautiful, meaningful excuse for a whole bunch of fellow nerds to have really a family reunion for the first time. So,
and someone.
I already have my room booked for next year.
Yeah, and I remember
you are Facebook user. We love you.
I remember you were saying, when we were talking about the number and when you shot out, 15, 20, I thought, no, too low. So, and you're right. It was very well attended, and I've shared tons of stories, but Daniel, Rebecca, what were your some of your favorite parts of the event?
I mean, obviously, I think it was fantastic getting to meet some people that I have had the pleasure, to those of you who are here, to see before in Coffee with Christopher, and or to have even gotten some private messages from, which were incredibly kind. So that was wonderful. And then I think just being with a group of people who were all really excited about the worlds that Christopher created, the worlds that we got to help with. Like we were all kind of fans of that and fans of each other, and it was just that was really exciting and special as well.
I think that Rebecca hit the nail on the head. Just to be able to put personalities to profiles, because so many of these wonderful people, we only get the chance to interact with online or, through reviews or through, the limited times like the Coffees with Christopher, which I think great way to connect with your fan base. But to be able to go to an event, to be invited, not even just to go, but to be invited to an event where people actively recognize your work, they recognize your ability, they're fans of it, which is always a plus. It was incredibly humbling, and it made me really appreciate the work that we did on a cool series, but it also just made me really appreciate every single one of our fans. I can say it now. It's nice. And it was
To tag on to that too, and Daniel hit a great point. Like we do our jobs in little like square footage areas where we just sit there and we talk, and unless you are messaging us or we get a review or something, we don't really get to see the effect of our work. And so to be around a bunch of people who know it or are interested in it or hear about it and then go, "Ooh, now I want to hear it," like that was so magical, considering how kind of lonely the other end of this job can usually be.
Oh, it's so lonely. Like it's a void sometimes. And so to have the void not only, to shout into the void and it shouts back, "I love your work." It was great. It was really rewarding, and also just like to talk at the panel and then to have like answer the questions on the panel and to do the live readings, which was really fun.
Live readings.
And it
That
was
awesome.
and just to have that whole group experience and to be able to talk to them about their interests as well and why they were fans and what other things they enjoy, you know, and it was incredibly rewarding.
I like this comment from Rachel. I hope they're at HopperCon next year.
Hey.
That depends, Hop.
You're lifers. As long as you can free those dates up, you have a place.
Oh, thank you, sir.
You heard it here, folks. That's my commitment.
Just to build on what everyone said, what really struck me was just the diversity of people who attended, but also who enjoy, Christopher, your work. It wasn't like the same type of people. Again, people from all over the world, literally. And getting to meet these people, like some of them, quite frankly, there's one person I can think of. If I met him at night, turning around the corner in a dark alley, I would probably give him my wallet. One of the, Troy. I don't know if you're on, but it's Troy.
You didn't have to put a name to the face, but
we all knew.
We all knew. Nicest guy.
Yeah.
But again, but these people have just such wide backgrounds and from different walks of life and different life experiences, but that common unifying reason of just we're here to celebrate and enjoy Christopher's work and this community. I've said it before, I'll say it again, right, Christopher? You've created a really unique and special community. So for those who are on this that aren't part of it or just maybe around the edges, dive right in, drink the Kool-Aid. So,
but it's not a cult, right? Right, guys? Right? We swear.
Rebecca, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit because one of the persons who I actually had the privilege of chatting with was your dad.
Yes.
So at dinner, we were sitting together and just loved the conversation. But I'm curious, what did he? Because he knows Christopher and family, but what did he think about HopperCon? Anything you can share about what he's what you talked about in the drive back or during the event?
I think, it's interesting. My dad can either be a man of many words or very little, depending on how he feels that day. And I think what is special about him, though, is how much he is actually quite expressive, and you can kind of tell how he's feeling from that. And when I tell you that, like, seeing him there interacting with people, getting to know people, being so social and excited when a lot of health things in his life have caused him to kind of be a little more reclusive lately, to see him open up like that is absolutely, I mean, that says so much about how wonderful this event really was. And I didn't even really have to talk about it afterwards with him to know that he had just the absolute best time and enjoyed every second of it. And so I'm appreciative of that for his sake.
So that leads to all of this leads to really the $1 million question. Is there going to be a HopperCon 24?
Absolutely.
All right.
Hey.
Absolutely. I think here the dates are July 19, 20, and 21. Anyone who is there this year will get first right to tickets before they go on sale to the public, and then once that's done, we'll move on. And there will be public tickets available because we're increasing the allotment this year. Going to be a little bit bigger, not too much bigger, but just a little bit bigger. And I'm excited. So
this is Annika who's making this comment. She's using her mom's account, but Annika, you were a big part of HopperCon, so glad to see that you laughed for a long time with the live reading. So
it was fun.
Good.
It was a lot of fun.
It was.
That's basically what Rebecca and I do on a day-to-day, like, because we will just get something cold and then just be like, what funny voices do we throw on this one today,
right.
Rebecca?
Exactly.
Not for you, Chris, though. Never for you.
Yeah,
Not
never,
for you.
yeah. Thank you.
No, we treat you with the utmost professionalism.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure you do.
So we'll probably talk a little bit more about HarperCon. But Daniel, you mentioned something earlier that leads actually to a question I wanted to ask you guys, which is, you talked about as a voice actor, a lot of times it is quite isolating or very solitary because you're just performing into the void, as it were, and not often do you get something back. But do you guys, so as voice actors, so question, applies to you, Rebecca, as well. Are you guys part of any communities of other voice actors that, I'm just curious, like, are there communities out there of voice actors or particular genre that you guys are part of?
Sort of. So I follow a couple of pages on Facebook regarding ACX narrators, Audible narrators, things like that, just to see where the industry sort of is swinging at any given time and how people are feeling about certain things in the industry at any given time. As you know, AI is a very big thing nowadays, and companies like Google have already been producing their own AI-generated audiobooks, which is not a cool thing. So there are talks in the communities of how to suppress that, how to limit it, how to, make people want to buy human, as it were. And at the same time, there's this weird dichotomy where it's like they also despise overperforming, which is something that I have been accused of correctly doing for all of my books in various genres, because mostly in fantasy and sci-fi is what I work. I mostly work within the fantasy genres, lit RPGs and some just straight up fantasy and sci-fi. But I argue in those genres, I'm playing demigods, gods, dragons, eldritch horrors. You try and do those casually. You can't. But I also argue now that, to me, that is also my way of competing against AI, because no computer program is ever going to overact like this schmackter right here. So it's because I care. I care. But that is my way of sort of, giving everything to those genres, but specifically fantasy, sci-fi, and some of the actors in there that also do that, they agree in regards to fantasy that you should be a little bit bigger. You should have this sort of, boisterousness. But I know Rebecca has a very good opinion in regards to like the different qualities of voice acting in audiobooks from one side of the aisle to the other. So Rebecca, you talk about that.
Oh, do you mean the awake versus go to sleep factor?
Yes, kind of.
Yeah.
That one sticks with me a lot, mainly because somebody wrote it on one of our books on Quest Academy.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Well, and so two things to that. First of all, with regards to the question of community and everything, I'm not part of communities as much with that. I have friends or I follow people and we kind of mutually appreciate one another, and sometimes we'll talk about the work in that way. Not as much communities dedicated to that. But yeah, with regard to the differences too, there is that, which is, are you making an audiobook to kind of, is this the kind of content that you're making to help someone sleep, or is this the kind of content that maybe you're going to pep them up? And that I tend to be someone, and Daniel said as well, that we are the kind of people that you hire when you want the audiobook to keep you awake. And then the other part of it too that I think about is it's like how with books nowadays, like solid hardcover books, is bookstores, in order to compete with online like Kindle selling, they did the most amazing and brilliant thing ever, which is they made these gorgeous hardcovers that feel like a piece of art. And so now you're coming to the store. I do it all the time. You're buying these books. You might even have a copy of it on your Kindle already, but now you're buying this because it is an art piece and it's something special. And I feel like what we're kind of doing is that to something like AI generated, which is that we are bringing something inherently special and beautiful and human and noticeable to it that no machine is ever going to be able to replicate the intricacies of that, and the art of that. And so that is another way that I would see the difference as well.
Cool. Well, and actually, I see a comment.
Beautiful.
I'm gonna throw it up here. So it's from Tor. Tor from across the pond, my friend. Good to see you.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for joining. So they live streamed their narration and get some feedback. You guys ever do that? Ever heard about it? Thoughts on that?
Heard of. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd heard of it as well. You had to be careful too, because I mean, obviously, and we talked a little bit about this at a recent podium event, at just around the table with each other. And the idea that you do have to be careful with that, of giving too much of the book away or too much of the book away for free, things like that. So you have to make sure that what you're doing is also respectful to the author and the companies that you're working with as well. So I've always kind of thought about it, but just haven't really sat down to work on what that would look like and the communications I would feel like I wanted to have with the authors first.
That's a good point. Yeah. Confidentiality, all that legally stuff. So
yeah.
Personally, I wouldn't. Just even if the author says okay, if they ask me to for like an event thing, I would, but that watching at least me do my job is not that interesting. And honestly, I worry that it might lose some respect rather than gain, because I just
Daniel,
the way that
I would watch you any day.
No,
I would watch you.
Theater, sure. Theater, absolutely. But with this specific job, because it is like I'm in that booth, I know Rebecca's in that booth, like we're in there for hours and hours and hours. So it just becomes a little, sometimes it's frustrating. Sometimes some words just can't go right. And to have like extra people in there when it is very much I'm just throwing words at the wall and seeing what sticks. That's just for me. Great for people who can, and I have more power to them. I'm not one of those people.
Valid.
So let's turn to another topic now. Well, what else are you guys working on right now? So you talked about it in Canada. Rebecca, why don't we start with you? And we'll go Rebecca,
sure.
Christopher. So yeah, what are you working on right now?
In other audiobooks and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do a lot of work with the company Podium. I have a contract with them at the moment. That's awesome. I'm grateful for. And a lot of I've been talking a lot with casting in that to kind of figure out where to kind of put me, because sometimes some of the casting people will be like, oh, okay, we have a romance for you. This is great. And those can be kind of fun. Like I just got put on a kind of rom-com essentially for January. And then I get really excited when I hear about Lit RPG, just because I think I do have so much fun with the fantasy side of things or the sci-fi side of things, and getting to kind of have the game world element. And so I'm on another one of those coming up this month as well. And we talked a little bit about this in the last coffee with Christopher, but I'm on a superhero book at the moment, which is fun. And it's a solo book. So I'm doing all of the voices, all of the males and females, which I really enjoy that sometimes, because I have a lot of fun with getting to pull out voices that I wouldn't if I were just the women. A lot of the times when you're playing so as a female narrator, a lot of the times when you're just pulled in to play the women, it's a lot of the times because they want you to play romantic interests or things like that. And those are often, it's like being cast as the ingenue, which is great. It's wonderful. They're wonderful roles. But there's something fantastic about being able to play, like, one time I was a circus ringleader who was a frog. And so the entire time he talked like this. And so every time he did anything at all, oh, madam, it's so great to see you. And so I got to do something like that. And I don't really usually get to do that when I'm just playing the women. So I get to have fun with that this month.
Oh, I love it.
I've listened to him for hours.
Right? I love him. I love him.
Amazing.
I have one other one too that I got to do, because again, I can kind of, just like a lot of the times when I'm playing women, I can kind of play on some of those vocal stereotypes to get across certain things, that because I don't have my visual appearance, I can play on certain vocal stereotypes. When I'm playing some of the male characters, I also can. Like at one point in one series, I was this very love-struck and flirty lizard man named like Antonio or something like that. And he was Spanish, so I got to talk like this the entire time, and it was so fun. And he was flirting with everybody, and I just love it. So,
Yeah.
Spanish lizard man.
yes, it was great. He was fantastic.
Not sure those three words would have ever come up together in my mind either, but
You know how many times we've seen that in books,
There you
Dan?
go.
I'd a nickel. Oh my.
But yes, go ahead, Daniel.
Oh, sure. Sticking with strictly audiobooks, which is cool. I have a lot of stuff also through Podium. Rebecca and I are blessed to be official audio collabs with them. It's a part of their audio collaborator program. They have about 15 narrators who work for them for a certain amount of time throughout the year, so we'll have guaranteed titles through them. I currently have my 185th audiobook up for pre-sale today. That is a romance fantasy through Podium. Other things that excite me, though, I have a lot of stuff coming in the pipeline from Chris Kennedy, the Four Horsemen sci-fi books, the Agony books, Seven Seal Press, all of those. Yet another amazing sort of sci-fi universe, mostly dealing with war and, you know, the trials and tribulations of war and mercenary companies and things like that. One of which recently, and this is a good segue into us, one of which was recently awarded the Reader's Favorite Award, Gold Medal for Best Fiction Audiobook of 2023. But also, honorable mention for this year was Parallax Rising. So look at us go.
Woohoo!
Yeah. So it's a
But-
multi award winning series now.
It is because the first one got the bronze.
Yes.
Because that was really fun. That was something that another one of my clients recommended to submit, entries for. And after the first book, I was like, this is too good not to get something. So submitted that, won the bronze, submitted again this year, still won something, always good. Here's hoping Kogarashi wins something as well. It'd be great. But yeah, mostly sci-fi fantasy. There is a fantasy series that I have coming out that I think deserves some more love. It is through Podium. It is called The Crowsand Saga. The first book is The Murderous Crow. The second book just released for pre-order now, The Swordmaster. It will be a 5-book series. It is by a German author, Sam Feuerbach. I hope I didn't butcher that. Feuerbach, I think. But he wrote one of the most intriguing fantasy series I've had the pleasure to read. Very similar to Game of Thrones, very similar kind of vibe, but also a young adult's like coming of age story. So that to me, I've never been a fan of coming of age stories for whatever reason, but this one got me. I think it was just the variety of characters and the variety of worldviews and the, fantastical coding doesn't hurt. But that is currently out, and I think it definitely deserves some more love. And yeah, it's just a series I'm really proud of. Solo series that I think is fantastic.
Cool. Very cool. And Christopher, you get to round this out. And actually, this is going to blend between the next two topics. But I hear you got some new series coming around the corner. Rivercraft, Ravens Draft, something like that.
Speaking of birds, Chris,
I'm something in that range, right? Have I got that right?
Yeah, that sounds about right. And a wonderful shout out to Christoph in the UK. It's got to be 2 or 3 in the morning for you, buddy. So
You're amazing.
wow,
you are a champion.
Wow.
Now go to sleep.
Yeah, for real.
The cult knows no time zones. We have Jason in Australia. We got Christoph in the UK. This is awesome.
I know.
We're on Hopper time.
We Hopperverse time. It's
Hopperverse time. They're all correct.
Yeah, I am doing something interesting, which is I am continuing Imperium Descent, which we have book 5 launching next weekend on Audible and Amazon. And then I'm working on book 6 in that series. People have asked me, by the way, how long is that series going to go? I plan on writing it as long as people want to read the books. I really, kind of like Infinita, built out a pretty large universe to play in, and I'm enjoying it. So either if I stop enjoying it or people stop enjoying the books, then I'll stop. But I'm going to keep that going on the space opera side, and I'm pivoting into progression fantasy. So I have a new IP coming out called Riven Drift Chronicles.
Oh, that's what it was. Sorry, yeah, Riven Drift.
Yeah, sure. And it follows a 19-year-old headed off to college who doesn't quite make it to school, and finds himself in a we'll just say interesting, a fun, interesting place that I hope enthralls readers and listeners, and should be a lot of fun. So look for that for the Hopperspace premium subscribers. They're actually going to start to get that in October, and then the rest of the world will get it later in November. So yeah.
Oh, okay. And so you mentioned the Hopperverse. So for those who haven't really dived into the Hopperverse, what's that all about?
So the Hopperverse is basically my essentially the best way to connect with me and our community. And people can sign up at ChristopherHopper.com. You can join for free. You get a poker chip, player poker chip, a sticker, some collector's cards. I was going to bring some up, but I don't have any with me right now. But then premium subscribers get access to Coffee with Christopher on Fridays at noon, which Daniel and Rebecca were just special guests last Friday, which was a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
And then they get access to special hardcover signed editions, some swag, all sorts of everything. I release everything early to them, so they're my people. My Hopperversians are my people. So they allow me to continue to do what I love to do, which is write stories to help people escape to for a couple minutes each day. So, yeah.
And actually, you know what came in the mail today, Christopher?
Whoa!
We're gonna have an unboxing, a live unboxing for those who don't know what the kind of stuff Christopher will. The message in here better not be too racy or saucy. I don't know what's in here, so
I don't either.
You've read worse.
I don't either.
Cool. So we have.
Yeah.
We're gonna open it up.
Look at that letterhead.
Awesome.
It doesn't sing to you?
It doesn't seem to be. It didn't also blow up either, so I guess got that going.
There's glitter everywhere.
It has no glitter and the
chip. Yeah.
So and it stayed. Didn't for those who didn't get some of the earlier ones, we had some flounder issues. Chips yeeting coins out of the yeeted coin out of the envelope. So
all over the world, hundreds of them.
All over the world. So you might. An Infinita coin somewhere in the world on the street somewhere. So, but this is.
I almost lost mine.
You did? You almost lost.
I almost lost my coin when I got it mailed to me the first time.
Oh man!
Like it was. I got the envelope and it was torn all the way except for a small sliver, and that sliver was what was holding the coin in. Oh, and I'm just like, man, this seems like a design flaw.
It really was. It was a total failure.
Well, you succeeded this time. That looks great.
Yes, thanks.
Yeah, so
you learned.
This is going to be featured prominently too. Nice, lovely sticker. So cool. If you're not part of the Hopperverse, you got to jump in. The link was there, so check it out. Be part of the group.
Please, we'd love to have you.
So, and when you go on Christopher's website, you'll actually also see the Valorious Awards, and there are some mentions in the. Daniel, we got so
very proud of this rocket.
Yeah, you are looking, everyone, at the 3 inaugural recipients of the Valorious Awards. Oh, if we got Kristen.
Mine's in a very other room. I'm gonna hold off and hold my invisible one.
There you go.
Mine's bigger, Dan.
Yeah. Shut up.
And Daniel,
But I worked harder for mine. No, I didn't. Not even close.
And
Please.
Did you had some issues on the airplane with your award? Was that?
I did. Okay, so this story. So I flew into HopperCon from New York to Syracuse. Puddle jump flight, totally fine, no worries, getting there. Coming back, because he's compensating Facebook user, that's why it's so much bigger. But coming back, I needed to get my bag checked, threw it through, and they pull me off to the side because they're like, there's something in here that's just like a giant metal thing. Like they pull it out and they're just, the person's holding it like that is like, so this could be a weapon. I'm like, I assure you it's not a weapon. They're like, so what is this? What is this Valorious Award? And I'm like, oh, I got it for voice acting. I'm a voice actor. And he just looks at me, he's like, you mean like cartoons? And he said it, I swear, like friggin' like a Brooklyn gangster, just like cartoons. And I started to explain the plot of the book that I won it for, and he immediately handed it over and said, have a nice day, please leave. So,
Oh my gosh.
Clearly wasn't going to use it as a weapon on my puddle jump less than an hour flight. But
right.
Yeah, I almost couldn't take it home. But now it lives right next to my HopperCon badge up here, next to Steven the Spider Plant. He is it is my very proud trophy. Also because it can't fit on my mantle. It's a little tall.
Well,
so the decision was made to continue the awards, which is really special. And in fact, as soon as we got off stage at HopperCon, Rebecca, Daniel, and I looked at each other, and it was kind of like, this is the last time we'll ever win these. It was just this sense of, if this continues, it's going to go to other people and other worthy voice actors and authors. And so as of September 1st and running through the end of December, we're accepting submissions for the second annual, really, I feel like it's the first annual, but second annual Valorious Awards, which will be awarded at HopperCon 2024. And we have some incredible judges. I am not judging them. I have recused myself. I will simply be there to help award the worthy winners. And it's exciting. It's really cool to perpetuate, to do good things. Keep the good going.
Wow. And I remember, Christopher, Daniel and I chatting with you at the kitchen table.
3 a.m. 3 a.m. Shout out to Mrs. Hopper for that 3 a.m. charcuterie board.
Yes.
That was quite a feat. Like, just blinked and it was just cheese and meats. She is a gem, and that was fantastic.
Agreed.
And it was just very good pairings too.
Yes,
cool.
I think the only thing that matches that was the conversation about the Valorious Awards and the excitement that it generated. Cricket and Rupert and Gerard Rupert, the idea, just kernel of an idea to the inaugural awards, to now we're making it open to celebrate new talent and bring some prominence and some spotlight to that. So I think you guys are onto something really good. So,
and it really does, that does need to be said, is Gerard is just, he's amazing, truly. And while so many contributed to it, while so many gave generously to make these beautiful trophies and to create what we have today, it really is Gerard Rupert who has shouldered not the burden, but the vision to see it perpetuated. And so big shout out to you, Gerard. Thank you to Cricket, to Kay Pimpinella, Dan Wong. Thank you. Like, just so many people who've given to this. And I love that we get to forward goodness into the lives of other people who the world needs to have their stories. And this is just our small way to do that.
So for those who are on the event that are authors, voice actors, do you want to put something in? By all means, go to the Valorious Awards website and take a look at the terms and conditions and put in your submission. If that's not you, but you know someone, spread the word. We want to get this out to as many people as we can to get as many submissions in. We love to see the work that's out there, and we want to recognize some of the best. So actually, we have a question here from Keith. Keith, who I think is gonna throw it up here. I think Nikki's actually. I saw a comment earlier today. Nikki, I think, can't make it. So Keith, I think you're representing the family. But question for Daniel and Rebecca: difficult to have a authentic dialogue in when you're recording when you're not in the same room? How does that work for you guys?
Take it away, Dan.
Okay, so. For those of you who don't know, Rebecca and I have known each other since 2019. We started working together at a company, and we did a book a week, roughly. So we were working together in the same booth for days and days and days, and those days became weeks, then became months, and then Rebecca moved away, and it made me sad. But
excuse you. Then 2020 happened.
Yeah, then 2020 happened. Right. Oh, that other. No, my world was rocked when you left. No. But then 2020 happened, and we were forced to record in separate locations just for practicality and safety. And we found that our chemistry and the way that we read matched up so practically perfectly that unless we told people, they would not have known we weren't in the same room. Like, there was an audition that Rebecca sent me that she was reading for, and she just needed someone to read opposite her for this audition to showcase, her. I think it was for something like The Crucible, like some sort of audition for that.
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. But there was a moment where I did not hear her clip. I heard nothing about it. I was just basing it off of the script. I said a line, gave a pause, and gave like a reaction, and she reacted off of my reaction that she didn't even know was happening. She anticipated it, and it sounded perfect. Like, it sounded like we were looking at each other, reacting off of what the other person was doing. Wow. So honestly, to answer the question, no, because I have the best partner in the world to work with in regards to that. Like, yeah.
And now Rebecca's thinking, crap, that's not what I was going to say.
Well, here, no, this is what I was going to say regardless. I think the other thing that I love about working with Dan is that I feel like this kind of goes back to what we were saying a little bit ago about the kind of work that we both do in audiobooks. Is what I have respected about him since day one is that we do kind of approach material very similarly. We both approach it going, I don't care how other people are doing this. The emotion of this is important to me. The relationships of this are important to me. The world of this is important to me. We both treat every moment on the page, regardless of what we are reading, with the importance and passion that the characters themselves are supposed to have and are said to have and are described as having. And the fact that we both are able to respect those worlds and those characters and those psyches, regardless of how we feel about the material, is so incredible to have in another person you're working with, that's another baseline of why I feel like we can trust each other so much to do things like that, to send each other an audition or ask for material or pair up our voices, because we both know that we are going to put everything we have into it. And you can't always trust that from someone, but I can trust that from Dan.
Wow.
And
Likewise.
so, yeah, that's. Do you miss? Oh, I do. I miss having a human being in the booth with me.
Oh, that's all I am to you, just a human being. No, I miss you. I miss recording with you. Like, there were times, like, the space we recorded in, they kept it so friggin' cold. So sometimes I'd walk into the booth and she would just be there with like blankets, like, I'm ready. And it was it was great. Like, just it was a great time. I miss it. I truly miss it.
There was a time that's one of my favorite, and you can hear it in the book still. It was one of the many books that we were doing at that old job. And Dan was doing the first person narration of this guy, and there's this little fairy that's supposed to be like this big that shows up, and she doesn't remember what she came to say. And so I just pop in on the mic, and a lot of the times we don't let each other know what these voices are beforehand, so we'll just like show up out of nowhere. And so I just pop up on the mic and I'm like, the question is,
I couldn't stop.
not only like it was hilarious, and even in the narration, you can still hear him still laughing. We had to pause, we had to stop. He was still laughing, but then even when we got back, it was great.
It was impossible to work with you that day. How dare you make me laugh? How dare you? I'm a professional. But no. There are moments when I'm reading stuff and I'm reading partner books that we're working on, and I can hear in my head how Rebecca would say it, or my idea of how Rebecca would say it. And then there were some lines I just read. I'm just like, God damn it, I miss her. I wish I could hear this. I wish I could hear her say this in person. And then I have to buy it like everybody else. How dare.
Me too.
Hey, I want to put this comment up from Gerard Rupert. Speaking of the man,
thanks,
myth,
Gerard.
legend. Dan, your haircut makes you look like Amos from The Expanse.
Thanks.
Here.
I appreciate that. I just got it. I was a wild man on Friday. It was disgusting. So I needed to look clean and proper. And I do, which is great. So thanks. Thanks, Red.
Well, now you know you can cosplay as Amos. So at the next Comic Con, just put on
100%.
beard.
Don't hate me. I've never seen The Expanse. I'm
Oh.
sorry. I should. I really should.
I would
But
put it
I
on your
haven't.
list. Amos is
I'm
definitely
allowed
one of
it.
my favorite sci-fi characters.
Look him up. I'm gonna look him up.
Yeah, the character is great. Wes Chatham as an actor, love him.
Oh, he
was a big part of the Expanse. So
And wait, okay, real quick question for you, Mr. Dan Wong. Did you get to see any of, or were you aware of The Expanse being shot in Toronto at any point?
You know what? I was, and I'm not a big like celebrity hound or geek, that much of a geek, but I did keep an eye out to see if I could find places where they were filming. I did have a client who actually, while it wasn't The Expanse, his property was used for Jack Reacher season 2.
Hey, cool.
So he's gonna message me. He said he couldn't remember which episode, but he said he's gonna let me know which one it is, and it'll be kind of cool. Yeah, just to see, to know that was. Oh, I know that I recognize that background. So
wait, this is a great comment. Why does sci-fi look like Canada?
Because it's desolate. It's cold and unforgiving, like space.
I have to pop in and say something too with regards to where things are being shot that also goes back to Dan and I working together. Daniel and I were also both cast as extras on Marvelous Mrs. Maisel in completely different seasons before we ever knew each other.
It was very
and
fun.
I find that great as well.
And like in scenes where we are very obviously on camera. I think you have an accordion, don't you?
I do have an accordion.
And I get yelled at by Joel, and I have my drink. I'm like, oh, sorry, go. I get a line. I get like a line and a name and everything. It's fun. It was a great moment. But that,
cool.
That was wild. Fame. So yeah, look for us in Maisel season 2.
Oh, I'm in a couple. Sorry.
So, well, I am too. Okay, I was being modest. All right.
He's throwing down. Oh man, you're screwed, Daniel.
Moving on.
Whatever.
Hey,
while we're plugging stuff, I see this in the outline.
Wait. You had to use that word. Now you know what's going to happen in the comments, right?
I do.
Shameless plug. What, I don't get what's so bad.
Bedazzled butt plugs. What?
Oh, jeez.
Continue.
Made it weird, Chris.
Please.
I made it weird. Damn it. We're over here.
Leave it to me.
Being professional.
So things that we are showcasing, Christopher, you were saying.
I was
showcase
saying,
your plug.
I was saying, if you go, so this is actually the first public announcement that we're making tonight. We have permission from the record label and the executives. This is a big deal. My wife's single, Just Friends, will be dropping worldwide October the 3rd.
Woo!
Tuesday, October the 3rd. Yes.
Nice.
Very excited. We just got the final mix back from Math Bishop in LA, who has mixed such fine acts as Taylor Swift and U2. And then it was just mastered by Bobby Giel out of 1979 in Nashville. The track sounds incredible. Anyway, it's in the pipeline. So you can check out jenniferhopper.com and sign up for her newsletter, or you can buy one of her packages. She's offering some really cool things right now, some swag, t-shirts and stuff like that. And then she has 3 more singles in the pipeline that we were just told they'd like to put them out, stagger them before Christmas. I was shocked. So we'll see. The kind of music it is. Yes. Thank you, Tor. It is pop. So I would say she's across. Oh gosh, I hate when people do this with your own art, but it does help to get you in the genre, right? She would be like Eva Cassidy and Adele meets Selena Gomez and yeah, that's what I would say. And maybe a little Dua Lipa, I would say. Yeah. We'll say that. So those 4 kind of all together, and she's just unique. She's herself. How do you say what somebody is when they're just the best version of themselves? She's Jennifer Hopper. I don't know.
Aww.
So there it is.
Well, I said this to you before when I was listening to the music. I think with those names, she's not like them, but she occupies space in that range that's not occupied right now.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said.
And I remember showing, so I let Linda listen to one of the songs and Jenny's recording of Field of Gold. And all Linda said, my wife said, it was, that's really good. And she's hard to please. So she doesn't give compliments that much, at least not to me. So she gave
a single tear roll down, just a single tear. Just like that. Yeah. It's really good.
She was moved. She was moved. But
so anyway, thanks, Daniel. Thank you, Dan.
So being mindful of the time, the 4 of us already talked beforehand. We're happy to keep the party going, but being mindful that we some people may have other things to do or may have put this into your busy schedule. But the bonus that I mentioned, Christopher, now's a good time to do this?
Yeah, definitely.
Right. Okay, so I think why don't you tee it up, Christopher? This is I think a world premiere.
Yes.
Teaser?
This is a world premiere. This is this stuff has not even seen my editor yet. So I pulled an excerpt from chapter 3 of my next book, Rivendrift Chronicles. I have just emailed it to you, Daniel and Rebecca, and it's only about 1,000 words long. They have not seen this. This is a cold read. This is kind of what we did at HopperCon, and I think we'll do again as long as they want to come out and be on stage with me, because it was just so much fun. And for people who would like a taste of it, at the end of Kogarashi's run, there is not only a roundtable discussion that was recorded live with the 3 of us, but there was also a short story and some live theater that was done. So in the spirit of that, we're going to do this. So this is from Rivendrift Chronicles, Book 1, Chapter 3, just the opening of Chapter 3. To set it up, yeah, Christy, my editor, is going, it's not my fault. There's already a disclaimer.
She disclaims any errors and any issues. So
between editors and attorneys, I'm pretty much set. So to set this up, Riley, our main character, who will be read by Mr. Daniel Wisniewski, is a 19-year-old college student who does not get to college and wakes up inside of a realm he knows nothing about.
Cool.
There is a second character who will be played by myself. And Rebecca, would you do us the honor of being our narrator for the evening?
I would love to. All right. You guys ready?
Let's do it.
No.
All right. Chapter 3. Riley skidded to a halt outside the pub and looked around. The quaint town square was still empty, but that wouldn't last long if Hal made good on his threat. Riley needed to find a place to hide, and fast. There was the main road he'd entered on, plus 3 more that left the square in diverging directions. His pursuers would expect him to take one of those roads, so Riley chose the small alley between buildings instead. Shadows swallowed him just as the pub's doors flung open to release a dozen worked-up patrons. They snarled and barked at the air, calling for the little obscurio like they might to a lost puppy.
A lost puppy they tear limb from limb once caught.
Riley thought, taking refuge behind a stout oak barrel. The sound of footsteps stopped at the alley's mouth, and the glint of firelight cast long shadows to Riley's side. He held his breath. He's not dumb enough to hide down there, you idiot! Someone come on!
This is the job. This is the job, people.
I forgot about them. Who threw them in there?
The mob moved on, and their cackles and catcalls eventually disappeared into the night. Riley relaxed against the barrel and let out the breath he'd been holding, but the tension in his chest wasn't going anywhere. He was not only lost, but now there was a crew of angry, half-cocked bar brawlers looking to beat him up, maybe even kill him if given the chance, and he still couldn't remember much of anything about how he'd gotten mixed up in all of this. The whole thing felt like
a bad dream,
he said softly.
You wouldn't be the first to think that,
said a new voice that belonged to a posh Englishman. Riley froze, eyes roaming the shadows.
Who's there? I'm not afraid to fight you. I'm armed with...
Riley searched the damp ground and found what he hoped was a stick. Upon holding into the dim light spilling from a window, he saw that it was a fleshless turkey leg.
Don't make me hit you!
I'm not here to hurt you, Riley. I'm here to help.
He squinted into the darkness.
How do you know my name?
You said it to the barkeeper.
So you followed me out here?
Of course I did. Don't be daft. I'm in your pocket.
Riley turned his attention to his pants and withdrew the only thing there, the bronze coin from earlier. It vibrated as soon as the voice spoke again.
There we are. Now, to summon me, simply say my name. It's Archibald, but you can call me Archie for short. 3 times, if you please.
Is this some sort of joke?
Are you laughing?
No.
Then there's your answer. Now, my name, thrice.
Feeling as though he were being scammed by a carnival actor, Riley uttered a hesitant,
Archie?
Energy rushed down his arm, through his hand, and into the coin, producing a swirl of blue light. A split second later, a small rabbit materialized, hopped onto the ground. Riley dropped the coin and pressed himself between the barrel and the brick wall. The rabbit, standing on its hind legs, examined its arms and chest.
Oh, bother.
Riley fought to contain a wave of disbelief that verged on paranoia. He held the turkey leg up and said,
Did you just speak?
Who, me?
Said the rabbit, paw to his chest.
Ah, yes. Forgive me, Riley. Pleased to make your acquaintance. Though I am rather disappointed presently, I was hoping to be something more useful to you, like a minotaur or a dragon or something.
Dragon?
Yes. Alas, it seems I am merely a dull, diminutive, grey rabbit.
And you talk?
Riley ran a hand down his face, things suddenly becoming clear.
I've lost my mind. I'm on drugs or something, right?
Saying that brought other words to light.
College. I'm at college! And someone roofed my drink. I knew it. That's what this is about.
Oh, pull yourself together, man. I highly doubt you're cool enough to be invited to one of those kinds of parties.
What's that supposed to mean? You don't know me.
I know enough that you're cowering in an alley and can't even muster the internal fortitude necessary for an argy-bargy with a gaggle of boozy plebs.
What? With who? Anyway, I'm not cowering. I'm... Okay, so maybe I'm sort of cowering, but you're a talking rabbit.
All at once, Riley remembered something about a song by a band his father loved.
Jefferson Airplane.
I beg your pardon?
Jefferson Airplane!
Riley exclaimed, revelation dawning on him, crisp like a bright winter's morning.
I remember now.
Congratulations. But if you wish to continue remembering things, you must keep your voice down.
More softly, Riley said.
I was going somewhere with my parents, and my dad was singing along to the song White Rabbit. Which means all this is just a dream, and you're just a figment of my imagination. Ha! I'm not crazy after all.
That remains to be seen.
Feeling bolder, Riley dropped the turkey leg and climbed to his feet.
Which means nothing that happens to me here is real. Oh my God, this is such a relief. I'm just dreaming.
Riley, please.
Archie said.
I very much encourage you to sit back down and lower your voice.
Why?
Riley spread his arms and started walking back toward the square.
I have nothing to be afraid of. I just need to wake up.
Stepping into the light, he yelled.
You hear that? I just need to wake up. And then he doesn't.
And scene.
And scene. Bravo, bravo. Oh, thank you guys. That was so cool to bring that to life together. That is magic to me.
That's fun.
I agree.
Yeah.
And that was the first time both of you saw chapter 3.
Mm-hmm.
Until we work on it?
I don't know. I saw a comment that was like, "Hey, are Dan and Rebecca and Chris going to be on a book together sometime?"
You never know.
Chris, I mean, you know.
Well, here's the thing. You're all booked up by Podium now. I'm going to have to throw some elbows around to get in there and be like, "Hey, remember me?"
Yeah, because Podium doesn't like you at all, Christopher. They don't like you at all.
They're wonderful.
I think we can throw your name around and be like, "Excuse you."
Excuse me.
We know he's busy. And we know RC Bray basically has a stranglehold on him. But can we please?
Thank you guys. That was really special. That made
Thank
me.
you.
I'm smiling so big. Thank you.
It was fun.
That was it. I really now want to know what happens to Riley. So
Mission accomplished. Mission accomplished. You'll have to read the rest of the story.
Yes, read the books, why don't you? Or listen to them when they come out on audio with To Be Determined.
There's
Oh,
awesome.
exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you, everybody. This has been exuberance. Yeah, says Adam. Exuberance. It's exuberance, but exuberant as well. Vipo from Imperium Descent. I love that little
Wonderful.
So yeah, I have Dan Wong. I do have some of these to give away as well. So I don't know how you want to select people, or if you want to give me a list later on. One thing worth mentioning though is that if you do look at the let's see, edited by Dan Wong. Dang Wong. So these are the first editions with that typo in there. I mean, was it really a typo though? So, and then if anyone has children that are, let's say, between the ages of 8 and 12, I'm going to give away 1 or 2 of these as well. So this is a hardcover edition. It's the second book. I don't have any of the first. They're a little harder to find right now. But I co-wrote this with Wayne Thomas Batson, New York Times bestseller out of Baltimore. And this is called The Barenfell Prophecies. So we'll give some of those away as well. So I don't know how we select people, Dan, but that's why you're paid the big bucks. So
I got a list here. So I think, well, why don't we let's start off with the Kogarashi's Run hardcover. And I have here actually let me hit the random generator.
Ooh, drum! I feel like drum roll.
Oh, and it's Keith Hurlbut.
And let's do 2 of those.
Woo!
Keith Hurlbut. Congratulations, Keith. Do 1 more.
Good.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. And we've got Nina. Nina gets the other one.
All right.
So we got 2 winners on the Kogarashi's Run hardcover. So I guess Keith and Nina, if you're on still, please just email Christopher Hopper at christopherhopper.com, and he'll hook you up with those 2.
I will. And I know Kelly Merbarger, but it's Ava who is watching. Ava, if you're there, I'm going to give a Barenfell Prophecies to you. Yeah. So that's going to you. So please email me at christopher@christopherhopper.com. And Sherry, I know you're watching as well. Sherry, shoot me an email with one of your grandchildren who would like one of these. We're going to send one to them. All right. So please shoot me an email tonight. Our people will get on that tomorrow.
She's here. Excellent. So excellent.
There you are, Facebook user. Why is it doing that?
I think it's because we're aggregating so many different platforms and the open APIs aren't quite working well with their system. That's the only thing I could think of.
But there are some Facebook, like Adam's name shows up in his Facebook profile. So
yeah, I'll be curious about it. And then Mr. Wong, I think for the Audible codes, what we might do, as long as you feel like you have confidence in those others who have asked questions, if you have a first and last name, we could probably reach out to them rather than having to go through and list them all tonight. But we'll have at least 10 of those codes going out for US and UK listeners. So
sounds great. So, and again, we're coming 9:20. I'm still going strong. I'm happy to stick around. Christopher, how are you feeling?
I'm good. I could probably handle one or two more questions or stories or anecdotes. This has been so much fun, though. Holy cow.
Yeah,
that just made my night, by the way, reading that with you both. That was really special. Like,
I was just hoping I wasn't blowing out my mic. I am not used to this thing. So
no,
that's why I'm like, hello. You can see it kind of. No, I'm just going, there we go.
I feel like I do really well, and then I get around both of you, and I feel like I'm horrible. So you are the professionals. That's clear. That is clear. So
do you hear that, Rebecca? We tricked him. He thinks we're professional.
We've been having a really long running gag then. Wow.
We yes-anded an entire career.
Yeah, by the way, there have been people who have been asking, is this going to be replayed? Yes, it will be available on YouTube, on my YouTube channel for replay under the Lives tab. So it probably is, usually it goes up the same night. And then for Coffee with Christopher and Premium Hopperverse subscribers, you will have it in your archives as well, probably this weekend. So yeah.
Also, another quick plug thing. So when Daniel was mentioning earlier that he had sent in an audition for like a Crucible-esque thing, I was remembering because I made them around this time of year, and you can see them on my IMDb, which I can actually link in the chat. But they're for a paranormal audio drama that's about stories out of Salem in Massachusetts, and they're based on actual history, and so I got to play some of the characters from those actual history, and I believe they're available on like iTunes and Spotify and things like that. But those are fun for anyone looking for kind of spooky October Halloween coming up content.
Nice. Perfect.
Yeah. I just realized I forgot to say the title of the thing that won the gold medal. It was The Executioners in the Sagas, Book 8. That was what won.
I thought you said The Executioners.
Maybe I did. Honestly, we can check the tape later. But I'm just to make sure that I said it. I said it.
Cool.
There we go. But yeah. If anybody's got like another question or two, or like it can be something completely unrelated, and we all have to answer because it's hilarious. Why not? Throw Dang in there. Come on.
Yeah, a question for Dan Wong.
Yeah. What's it like being a fellow lefty with the initials DW?
I know.
Pretty great, isn't
it? It's really great.
Yeah, we're awesome.
Darkwing Duck. Any Darkwing Duck fans? Yes? Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm actually still trying to find the first comic book appearance of Darkwing Duck. Not that it's hard to find, just I don't have one yet. So.
Oh, I was gonna say, do you own one? That's pretty cool.
No.
I think I do. I think I have episode 1. Listen to me. I think
when there's trouble, you call DW.
There it is. Darkwing Duck. Dum-dum.
Wow.
Favorite moment from HopperCon?
Having some of Vlad's homemade whiskey.
Oh,
that was definitely that's definitely one of the tops. Meeting people, but like that one I remember so strongly because first off, it was delicious, but also that it was like, what was it up? Because we both had some. What was it like? It was like what, like 150 proof or something. It was like just not that strong, but it was like stupid strong. And it was just, it didn't taste it at all. It was like super, super sweet, super light. And then he just hands us the glass. He's like, it's 55%. And I'm just like, all right.
And
That
he
was
had it in a
special.
little thing too. It's so cute. So
It was so cute in his little cask. It was great.
Yeah, it
Ooh.
was great.
So we have a question here. So I guess for all three of you, voice actors extraordinaire here, any advice for someone who wants to be to get into the industry?
It's an investment. It is so much more of an investment than it used to be. It is something that you can't really do on a lark if you want to do it seriously. I've had a lot of people recently, more so than not, I don't know about you, Rebecca, but maybe like former classmates or people that knew you tangentially from school. And once the pandemic hit and once we started posting stuff more regularly, they reached out like, hey, it's been so long, la-di-da, tell me how to be a voice actor. And when I would tell them everything that it entailed, silence, just radio silence, because a lot of people are under the wrong idea. They have the wrong idea. They just think that it is easy to get into, that it's this massive market, which it is, because there's a lot of niche markets in there. It is easier to get into than not, but it's so much of a commitment, and it is so much of a different style of acting. You're basically relearning everything from the ground up. You have to invest in your equipment because the people that get the jobs, maybe they're not as good as you, but they have better equipment. 9 times out of 10, at least, like than like the microphones they were saying that they used. So it is, you have to invest in decent equipment. You have to invest time, and you have to really be serious about it. So that's what I'd say. Like, do it if you want to, if you really want to, but don't do it if you think that it's just a kind of thing.
I was about to say, I think something important is that I have been realizing is more and more important and trying to tell people is it isn't just something that you get into to do on the side, because either you won't get work or you will find it taking over your life, and then you're suddenly frustrated that this was supposed to be a side thing and now it's taking up my time.
So how did it take up your time? Is it because you have to dedicate such a big chunk of time to do it? Because you can't do this kind of here and there, right?
Especially with narration, yes. I mean, let's say a 14-hour book, triple that. That's how many hours you're going to probably be working on that. And that's not always including editing and things like that, just due to sometimes you get in there and your voice is tired and something that should have taken 1 take takes 5. You know what I mean? And especially in the beginning, and I can say this from having helped train up 4 of my different audio partners at my first job, you make a million mistakes in the beginning. You look at your file, and we use a system called Click, or not called Clicks, but we use a Click system for errors. And you look at your file, and you've got more clicks than you do wavelength voice speaking in the beginning. And so because you're working on the pacing and I mean, I remember it took me so long to get to the level of stamina that the men did, because they typically spent more time on narration. And so when I got more into straight up narration and not just coming in for the female narration part, I had to work on my stamina. I was struggling to be in the booth narrating as long for periods of time as my other partners were. So there's a lot of those kinds of things that I don't think people think going into it. You get really excited about the dream part of it, really excited about voicing something and things like that. And that is beautiful. And if you are invested and interested, keep a hold of that. I think that's incredibly important.
Yes.
As long as you're willing to admit how much technical and physical work you are going to need to put in.
And Christopher, what about you? You're actor, author, and voice actor.
But budding voice actor, wannabe voice actor.
Have people bought them, Chris? Then they count.
I thought the rabbit sounded great.
Yeah, Chris. Jeez, confidence, my guy. That's key.
You guys are great. I would say that actually the number of people who say that they would like to be voice actors is comparable to the number of people that say they want to write a book in my
Mm.
world. And it's really weird because both of these professions have that statement made, but I don't see that in almost any other genre. Like, oh, I've always wanted to conduct orchestras. Oh,
I've always wanted to be an accountant.
I've always wanted to do open heart surgery. Like, it seems everybody I meet wants to write a book, and yet do they have the skills? No, probably not. Some might. Do they have the drive, the talent, the education, the experience, the commitment level, the time in their day, access to resources to become proficient in any one of those things? Those are very different questions. And so I think it's that difference between the dream of something like Rebecca was talking about, which is essential, and then who are the people that actually have the grit to see that through. It's a bit like saying, well, I know how to drive my Honda Civic. Can I fly the 747 too? Like, it's not that big of a jump, right? And that's not to deter anybody. It's simply to say that there is a substantial difference between the idea of operating a generic vehicle and the specificity between driving a Honda Civic on country roads and a 747 with commercial airlines. And as long as you go into it with that understanding, I think now you can actually make educated decisions. Like, I need to take a course. I don't know anything about Pro Tools. I don't know about signal chain. I don't know about phantom power to a condenser microphone. What are what's a large diaphragm? Like, what do you mean I have to work on my conditioning, my muscles, and what does it mean to support from my diaphragm? And I can overdrive the mic. And I haven't even talked about taking on the persona of a given character and what's my narration voice, and I can have 5 different narrative voices for any given project. And wow, there's just so much. And again, that's not to deter anybody. It's simply to say that there is a level of expertise that requires a significant investment if you expect it to return something of a commensurable ROI. Like, if you want to do this professionally, you're going to have to act like a professional in every way, and answers won't be handed to you. We're probably giving you more right now than most people will get for free. And yay for us. No, it is really, we love you, and this is a great community, and I feel like the people here are our people. You're our people. It's not just my people, it's our people. But I would say, if you're serious about it, dive in, but find reputable course. You're going to, unless you have a best friend who's the #1 bestseller voice actor or author, you're going to have to separate with something to get access to that. And it's usually money. Yeah. It's usually saying, I'm going to make an investment into this business and do everything I can to learn and grow and accumulate my experience, my hardware, my knowledge base and proficiency, and whatever I can't get, I'm going to hire out. So that would be my thoughts.
I wanted to tack onto that really quickly too, because in all of that, I think it's also important that, much like people who want to be filmmakers and things like that, if you have a passion for it as a hobby, and you are aware that that's all it's going to be, and you're not trying to go professional, by all means explore it, have fun with it, learn how to do things on the go, just like you would if you wanted to be if you wanted to be involved in film but didn't necessarily want to go Hollywood. You just want to make projects with your friends. Like, let the passion go there if you want that and you're okay with that level. And don't let all of the training and tools and the technical and everything that Christopher just listed, if you are truly passionate about making it in a professional sense, then that passion is going to follow into wanting to put in all that training, wanting to find those avenues, wanting to explore that. So that is really important too. Don't just look at all of that and say, oh, that could never be me, because if the passion is there, you will want to continue to explore it.
Just to, yes, onto those, and also I feel like I might have come off a little harsh.
No, I was the one who's way more critical. So
no,
you're an angel.
But it's more of like, do you want to do the thing, or do you want to be known that you do the thing? Do you want people to treat you like they know you do the thing? Because, like, do you want to be a voice actor, or do you want people to know you're a voice actor? Do you want to be a known voice actor? Because a lot of voice actors that work all the time, not a lot of people know that. It's niche knowledge. Like the ones that get really big that do it all the time, sure, because it's like the projects they're attached to, there's just, there is a certain build up and you want to have audiences for that. But that's the thing. It's like if you want to chase the image of that, or do you want to chase the actual thing? So I think if you want the thing, go for the thing and do everything that we just said. But if you just want the image of it, if that's what's attracting you, then maybe it's not for you.
Well said. Well said.
Bob asked an interesting question. So, do you guys read the books before, or do you just go into it and start recording?
We have different answers on that.
Yeah, well, and our answers might piss off Christopher depending on what we say.
Well, let me start, Bob. It's easy. I read the books.
Oh, shut up, Chris.
He's so dedicated. He actually reads them too.
Yeah.
And this brings up a very good point. Actually, Daniel, what you just said was so good, and I mean this for real. Like, one of the reasons why I don't consider myself on your guys' levels is because I only do my little thing over here. I do my book. I could not do what you guys do. Like, you exist in a class and a caliber far above. I'm just like, oh. So that's why I say that. But
I'm overacting cheese. Stop it. Oh,
well, as far as the books too, okay, so a lot of the time you got to remember, I mean, books are several hours worth of reading, and like a short book is still usually about 4 hours worth of reading. And so you got to remember, like I said, that also take whatever time we're going to be in the booth, and or take whatever time that the book is going to end up being condensed down, and like double or triple it for work wise.
At least so.
Yeah. And so I think a lot of the time, for me, it used to be that I would maybe skim some things. I would dive hard into the author's notes, and then I would just kind of go in the moment in the booth. Some books lately, I mean, anything I do partner wise, I realize that it is just a little too difficult and pressure on me to try and scan through and find my lines. I work myself up and I don't do it right. So a lot of the times I will go through and I will find my lines and highlight them for partner work. And then even on solo work, a couple books lately I have kind of actually sat down and read first. And a lot of the times too, I'll do that if it's a book that is several books along in a series and I want to kind of, it's been a few months since I've even been there. And so I need to get reacquainted with how the characters talk before I just dive into the booth. So sometimes I will actually sit and read the whole thing through.
I have not had the privilege to proof a book in years. And that is also due to the privilege of working with authors repeatedly and learning their style, learning their cadence, and working in books in series. Like the amount of prep work you need to do for a series gets lesser and lesser as you go on because you're used to it. The vast majority of our clients will give us a character Bible, which is to say the name of any major important characters, accent notes, adjectives describing them, what's their importance in the story, maybe a picture sometimes to give a good visual reference, which is great. Any information is good information. If I see stuff as I'm reading along and there are any adjectives that describe the character or anything like that, I instantly log that away and use that to construct the voice. But I know it's not the correct answer, and I know it's not something that a lot of people in our business really, think is a good trait, because it's not. It's something that we do now. We sacrifice that to bring out more and more books because we're at a place where the quality of our work is indistinguishable with prep versus no prep. Mm-hmm. And that's great for us. But also it's like, if we were doing nonfiction, that would go completely out the door. The fact that we're working in fiction, we can make up words, we can make up pronunciations because it's a lot of fantasy sci-fi stuff. That helps to drastically cut down the need for prep sometimes. And, I just reiterate again, like all of these narrators that I hear sometimes that they try to convince me that they've put in like a month's worth of prep, and it sounds like they're reading it for the first time. And it's I'm sorry. I know this is going to sound weird, but I never listened to narration or audiobooks before I got into this business because I found them too boring. I find people not being invested in the story to not invest me in the story. And I understand the reason why, because they're like, they don't want to distract from the words. They don't want to distract from the plot. And my thing is does a stage actor distract from the plot?
Totally. I was just going to
words?
say, Daniel, when you just read chapter 3 as the character Riley, you know nothing about him other than what I just pitched you.
Nope.
And there you are acting as Riley Moore, having a revelation that, oh my gosh, I'm at college. Somebody must have roofied my drink. Of course. And you're, this revelation that, no, of course, I'm in a dream world. Nothing can happen to me. And, just by intuiting from reading the room, knowing the context, you became the character. That's what a stage actor brings. That's amazing.
Thanks, Al. But it's true. It does a disservice. It would do anything less would do a disservice to your work. And that's how I, at least, and we as partners view it for the vast majority of the people we work with. It does a disservice to underperform simply because that's the way that it's done. And I don't like that. So
I'm going to jump into the question here. So having the benefit of seeing the three of you perform chapter 3, we get to see it with the video on. But when you're in the booth, when you're by yourself, do you actually do the gestures and the emotions? Or is it different because there's a camera here and there's not one in your booth? I'm curious.
So sometimes, if Rebecca and Chris, if you don't mind, I'd like to, just because I have a couple that are, so there's one type of character that I love to play, and it's the elder being. There's always in these fantasy stories or these sci-fi stories this sort of eldritch abomination, like one with the universe kind of character. And I've had to voice it a couple of times. And so the way that, like, to get into that kind of mindset, or to even get into the dragons, these ancient primordial beings of raw destruction and power, to like encapsulate that, you can't just stand. You can't just be like there as a person. You have to build yourself. You have to like get into the mic. You have to like really contort your face. You might have to snarl a little bit. Like, you can delete stuff in post. It's fine. Do whatever you need to do to get the take.
We get a demonstration?
To get a demonstration. So, some things that I like to do. So to get into that kind of creature, like there was one example. It was a romance fantasy series. I think it was like War God for Hire. Was that the one that Rebecca, like, you sent me a copy of the clip because you were like, this sounds really good. But it was just basically this elder being at the edge of the universe, in the edge of known space. And he sounds very down here. So you have to really get in there and really contort your face and just make any sort of sound possible that just like uses a lot of that, like a lot of chewing, a lot of physicality, like a lot of that kind of vibe. But then you might get like somebody who's kind of like a bigger dude, and he's sort of here. So you kind of, physically adjust to it, as it were. So stuff like that. Like there are, the way I think of the voice is it's when I'm constructing a character, I like to think of like where in the body and in the face the voice comes from, and that affects how I visualize. Like, if they're small, I put it maybe here. If they're big, it's all over. Like, there's a lot of science and a lot of like pseudo actory mumbo jumbo bullshit that like I love to do in the booth, but also why it's not great to watch, because it's just like, what the fuck is he doing?
I disagree with that it's not great to watch. And also,
I know we're watching you right now, like, please don't stop.
To piggyback off of that as well, because you've got to remember, the reason that we as humans sound like we do is because of where we put our tongue in our mouth, where our palate, I sound like this because of how I structure my face to talk. The moment I change that, I'm going to start sounding different. And the moment I want to sound different, I should change that. So a lot of, I love Dan's example of where you're thinking of where this is coming from. A lot of the times what I'll do is I'll kind of get a mental image of what this character kind of looks like or how they go through life. I get a little more psyche with it than size and shape and stuff. And so, like, for instance, I mean, I had a video recently that I had to do several different female voices. And so one girl, I would just always sit there like this every time I do her voice, because in order to get her across, I've just got to do this. And then the other one, it talks like this. And in order to do her, I got to always talk like this. And so every time in the booth, I am fully doing those things in order to become all those different people, because in order to so close together play all those different voices, I feel like I have to do something with my body to differentiate them. If I tried to, I can't even do it. I say, no. So
that's the theatricality. That is theater training. Like no shade on film, but I'm going to throw shade on film. It trains you to be, as contained of a performance to a visual medium, and you can only act in a small space. And voice acting is very similar, because you're in a confined space. But the theatricality that comes into it is that you can't see that. You can't see this emotion. You can't see visually what they're feeling. So it all has to come from here. And film actors can't use this nearly as well as theater actors can, because we have to use more imagination. Because in the theater, you could be playing anything from an animal to a person to 12 people to 12 different people at the same time. Like it requires a lot of imagination, and it just is it's a positive reflection on your theatrical training, Rebecca. So yeah.
Applause by all.
Look at us go. Look at us make the funny voices to make the people laugh.
Well, I think with that, I think what better way to end? That was incredible just to see all three of you perform, monkey dance, but just to talk about, just the art. I'm nowhere near. There's a reason why I'm a lawyer and not a voice actor or an author. But to appreciate this, I think is really cool. For me as a listener in audiobooks, knowing that this is what you invest in, this is what you go through, this is now kind of like what you look like, will actually, in my view, enhance that experience, because it's the character, but it's also the voice actor. So I think thank you for sharing that. I think that was it was interesting and informative. So
thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Well, Christopher, I think we this is bonus time. We're in injury time, overtime, fun time, but like many things, like everything, all good things have to come to an end. Christopher, why don't you send us off? You do this for your Coffee with Christopher friends and participants, but now as the host, I get the privilege of offering you the final word in today's event. What would you like to say?
Wow, thank you. Daniel, Rebecca, thank you for being with me tonight. It is just always a joy and delight. I feel connected to you both forever, and grateful to you for your investment in my project and in allowing us to find delight in another world that we get to escape to. And it wouldn't have been possible without you both. So thank you for who you are. Thank you for being my friends. More than anything else. And I look forward to the future with you both. And for everybody who's joined us and been a part of this for the last almost 2 hours, you're amazing. Thank you for just being legends and supporters of beautiful art, human-made art, meaningful art that drips with themes that are universal and have to do with friendship and fighting for good and resistance to evil, and these fibers in the midst of a world that seems disjointed and broken and fractured and polemic at times. When I read news headlines, I find that in these spaces we get moments to transcend that, and we are much more one than we are divided. And if we can just remember that and be thoughtful like our characters and enter into conversations that allow for nuance, and we focus more on listening and thinking of better questions rather than trying to always assert what we think is a superior answer. Art facilitates that, and we will be better people if we let that kind of leak into us and also out of us in the world around us. So just want to say to everybody, thank you for letting beautiful art have its place in your hearts that would want you to take 2 hours on a Thursday night to be with 4 super, hopefully fun, but ultimately uber nerdy people. And we love you. So Dan Wong, thank you. Rebecca Woods, you're a legend. Danny Wisniewski, legend. And everybody watching, thanks for who you are. Have a great night.
Thanks, everyone.
Enjoy the ride.
Adios, folks.